Welcome to this week's Desk Side Chat. I'm excited to have a special guest with us this week, Stevyn Guinnip. Stevyn, appreciate you joining us.
Thank you so much, John. I'm so happy to be here at this thing at the beginning as it just gets kicked off. This is so much fun.
Well, and I really appreciate all of your support and inspiration. You've been extremely helpful to me is just being somebody that I look to as a guide as we're getting this thing going. And I think you have tremendous value to offer to advisors in this industry. So I really appreciate you taking the time to join us.
Thank you so much.
The topic this week, Stevyn, should be near and dear to your heart. It's why starting with your health is not negotiable. And for those of you who don't know Stevyn, Stevyn is an exercise physiologist, certified as a wellness coach, and daughter of a financial advisor. And really, your focus, Stevyn, is in helping support financial advisors.
It is. Yeah. It's helping them with their other asset, which is their health. That's, you've got your money, but then that's a tool towards your life and future. And your health is very similar to that. It's just in a different format. But yeah, that's what I help them do is preserve, protect, and grow that asset of their health.
And I love the name of your company, Grow Wellthy, Wellth. I think that's awesome. I love that.
Thanks. Yeah, it's just a little play on words. And I jokingly call myself a wealth advisor. And occasionally I'll have somebody message me on LinkedIn and say, hey, you misspelled the word wealth. You might want to fix that. And I'm like, no, I meant to do that.
That's pretty funny. I mean, so you're a daughter of an advisor, and you and I have spoken several times, and we've seen a lot of your content and interactions with advisors. So, can you go through a little bit of your background and what led you to develop this particular niche and where you see there being such a great need?
Sure. Yeah. So my dad was an advisor for 32 years, and I call him a quote successful advisor. And honestly, nobody has challenged me on that ever. What does successful mean? Because that means a lot of different things. Most people think that it's money. And while he was very successful with his money, he was also successful with his relationships, serving his purpose, and making sure that he had his health still intact. In fact, I was just this weekend down in Bisbee, Arizona, going through a copper mine with my dad, and then we climbed these steps, like 100 steps, to get to this little park that had these fun little things you could do to stay fit. And he's 74, and he was able to do this full body plank on these kind of TRX things with me and hop around with my daughter. I mean, to me, that's the epitome of success, to have all of that together, the relationships, the purpose, the money, the health, all of that. And so, but it started back when I was 11. That's when he became an advisor. And I watched him hustle, like grind for a decade, for 10 years. And then, of course, we got to go and do all the top advisor stuff and go meet with all of the other top advisors. And so that's where I got to meet them and see what success looked like. And I was utterly disappointed. Even as a teenager, I was just like, wait a minute, this is success? Like bored, broken relationships, health failing with a bank full of money. Like that seemed like the complete opposite of what a healthy, happy, enjoyable life was. I just saw a lot of miserable people. And so, that made an impression on me. So I went and I was like, I'm going to fix this. And especially because I saw a lot of people dying at their desk and, only having one good year of retirement. Clients too, and they thought they were doing the right thing. So that's when I was like, I'm going to go become an exercise physiologist and make everybody healthy, and that's going to fix it. So I did that. I did the NIH. I worked for research and high blood pressure and exercise. I ran my own business. I did corporate wellness. I did cardiac rehab. I went to Australia and I launched programs over there with kettlebells. Like I've done it all, 20 years of it, and realized when I almost died that was actually not the answer either. And there's so much more to it, but it's not harder. It's easier than what I ever thought. It's not about target heart rate zones and so many minutes of exercise. It's about so much more low hanging fruit. And I can tell my story another time as far as like why I almost died and what happened. But basically I aged a decade, maybe two, overnight with this surgery and this near-death experience. This is the moment that I was like, oh my gosh, this is what's happening to people as they age. But it's like the frog in the pot boiling slowly, getting worse and worse and worse. They don't notice it. I just happen to have this beautiful gift of being able to have it happen to me overnight and realize that the traditional stuff doesn't work to keep you healthy. And you have to be able to manage stress. You have to manage your mindset. You have to be able to repair your body and to nourish it and do all these other things that were not on my radar before this. And once I saw it for what it was, I had this light bulb moment where I was like, this is so similar to the financial journey. This is so similar to the deposits, the long-term game. You can't get rich quick playing the market. You can't go on diets and do CrossFit to get healthy. Like you just can't do that. Can you do some of those things for fun if the risk profile looks okay? Yeah. But the win is in the long game, the deposits, the compounding interest. And I found out there are 12 financial principles that if you overlay them on top of health, then it gives you a new paradigm shift of your health so that you can then start to treat it like an asset to retire. So that's kind of how I got here.
And if you, obviously, if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. And so a big part of what has motivated me to kind of leap off and pursue this endeavor of supporting and helping advisors in a more transparent, in a more holistic manner is I would ask advisors all the time, what is your why? I want to make, I want to have 100 million in assets under management. Okay. I want to have 150 million. I want to have 200 million. Okay. Like why? What is that for?
Yeah.
What's the purpose behind that? And that's such a great example with your dad to be able to enjoy and spend time. I mean, ultimately that's what this is for, that you have to have a why behind what you're building and what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And, one advisor, John, I'm writing a book and I've interviewed nearly 300 advisors.
Yeah.
And I'm asking them 6 questions. 3 of the questions are 1 to 10 scales, and the other 3 are more open-ended questions. But there's an advisor I interviewed maybe a week ago, and he self-admitted that his wife called him a workaholic, and he was his mid-60s, and that his friends said he had MORE disease, more. Like he just couldn't stop. He just kept wanting more. So when I asked him on a scale of 1 to 10, how financially successful are you? He said 12 without hesitation. So wildly successful, right? But when I asked him about his health on a scale of 1 to 10, he was a solid 3 or less. So this man is bankrupt in his health, which is going to catch up to him very quickly. And it's going to be a rude awakening. And his stress was an 8 on a scale of 1 to 10. So we've got one thing winning and we've got 2 things that are not where they should be. Is that success? I mean, like that's the question I keep wanting to ask. Like you said, why? Why keep chasing the dollar and the more assets under management? What else is there in life that you could look at and maybe work on that?
So when you're engaging with advice, so I appreciate you telling that story all the way back to when you were 11 and kind of seeing, is this what success looks like? So as you're working with advisors, as you come across people, I guess, how many are maybe figuring this out before they need to, and how many advisors, are at the point where, I mean, like that example you just gave, where they're like, oh, man, is it too late?
Well, I mean, this advisor I just talked about, he said it's not possible. He said, I did trade my health for my career. And he said, it is not possible to keep them both. He said, be nice, but it's not possible to keep them both intact through this career. And I called him on it. I was like, not only is it possible, it's non-negotiable. You have to do this, because if you don't, all that other work doesn't matter, right? And so when I interview people, what I'm seeing is that most people are in the I try and I should, and it would be nice to be healthy. But there's very few that say, no, this is a tool. I am the tool that creates the product of my business, and I have to invest in that. And the people who are getting it right, they've either had some crisis moment themselves already that scared them, or they've had somebody else that they loved or trusted that's gone through their own crisis moment. So they see that as kind of like their tap on the shoulder to do something. And so when they finally decide, all those excuses, all those justifications of why they're not doing certain things go away, and they move heaven and earth to rearrange their lives so that they can make that a priority in their lives. And that's really what the book is after. I'm like, what is that trigger? How do we get more people to take action on that before they have that it's too late kind of experience, right? And it's not very many people that are doing it successfully.
And
There's another advisor. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry, Stephen.
Well, there's another advisor I spoke to last week, and she's doing it. She's in her, I think she's like in her early 40s, and she's an 8 on her health 1 to 10 scale. And she feels amazing. And she told me, I've come to realize that I can work 8 hours and get more done if I feed myself well, take care of my stress, and move my body, than if I work 12 hours and don't do those things. So it's like reallocating the time. So 8 to 12 hours, the difference is, 4 hours. Can you take those 4 hours and put them somewhere else so that you're going to actually be more productive in the 8 hours and get 4 hours back for yourself? And one really interesting trend I'm seeing is that those, top 1 or 2% of advisors that I'm actually interviewing that are doing it, they are spending about 10% of their 10% of their hours in a 24-hour day on themselves. So what's 10%? That's 2.4 hours on themselves. So most of them have a morning routine that's like 2 or 3 hours, and they're working on themselves. They're planning their food, they're moving their bodies, they're doing mindset work, they're reading, they're journaling, whatever, but they're spending that much time. So you think about it, like 10% of your money at a low percentage should go to your future for your retirement, right? Well, what if you take 10% of this other asset that you have, which is your time each day, and you put it toward serving you? Now, I know that's kind of like 2.5 hours. Like, that's a lot for people, right? But start somewhere and just realize that that's what the top producers are doing. The people who are really, quote, successful because they're happy with their life. They're happy with how they feel. And one more story for you, John. There's another advisor I spoke to again last week. Last week was a busy week, but he's out in California. He's 61. And he called me. He said, I've always been able to do this business and grind it out and just make it happen. He's like, but I'm getting tired. I'm burned out, and it's not sustainable any longer. His health on a scale of 1 to 10 is a 4. So he's starting to see signs of disease. He's starting to get a little bit older at 61. His work is more than he can handle. He's overwhelmed, and he's at a stuck place, right? He's not going to be able to constantly improve and serve his clients and be, a good advisor that finishes first, because he doesn't have those resources and habits in place to support him. And I think that's sad.
And this kind of is very similar and ties into the concept that we're going for with good advisors finish first. The premise is, if you just simply do the right things, you're going to be more successful in the long run, right? It's really that simple. You don't have to cut corners. You don't have to do shortcuts. That may make you successful in a sprint over a short run, but to be long-term successful, you have to do the right things for the clients. And I think this is the same scenario, is that it's very interesting. You say the top 1-2% spending that much time. It's not like it's not just that it's a non-binary choice, and we can leave that aside. It's actually, it's essential in order to be successful, to truly be successful.
Yeah.
Both financially as well as for your overall just wellness in life.
Yeah. I mean, one analogy, I love analogies. And one analogy that really sits well with me is if you're a financial advisor, and you're serving your clients and helping them with that, that's your career. But imagine that you mow lawns for a living. Okay. You're outside, you're mowing lawns, you've got this product that is a beautifully cut lawn. And it all goes diagonal and it's the different colors alternating and it's all trimmed and it's just gorgeous. People tell their friends about you and you go and you get more jobs and you grow. And you look at that and you're like, okay, well, what is your tool? The tool is the mower, right? Like that's the main tool that you've got. And if you're not taking care of that, you're not sharpening the blade, filling it with gas, making sure the oil's changed and it has good tires, then you're going to start, your product is going to start to look a little haggard, right? A little frumpy. And you're going to like the grass will look kind of torn and it'll take you longer and you might leave an oil stain on their driveway. And they start to just kind of have a bad taste in their mouth for your product. And you're just not able to deliver because you're not taking care of your tool. So John, what is your tool when you're a financial advisor? I'll ask you.
I mean, it's you, it's you, right? Yeah.
It's you. Yes. There are 4 things you have to do to take care of you. And it's like a hierarchy of needs, like Maslow's hierarchy, but it's of wealth, WELL, wealth. And that bottom one is your mindset, like taking care of how you're thinking. And what are you thinking about? Discarding the bad thoughts and feeding the good thoughts. And I always tell my clients that the greatest thing that they can do is show up with awareness and curiosity. That's like the bedrock. No guilt, no self-shaming, no feeling like you're second to somebody else. Like throw all that away and just come in with awareness and curiosity. And then you go to the next level up and it's called mend. When you're 40 and over, the most important thing that you need to do is give yourself recovery time because this is a stressful job. We've got a lot of toxins in the environment. We have a lot of people counting on us and we have to recover. Our bodies just don't recover well. So that's like stress management and sleep. That's mend. And then the next level up is another M, which is meals. And how you're going to fill your body full of all of these really good things. And then the very top one, at the tip of the top is movement. And that's like how you move your body, but not just like getting to the gym. It's like, walking and core strength and mobility and getting off the floor and balance and range of motion, like all these different buckets that actually are going to serve you when you're 88 years old. And so many people come in like, oh, I know I need to get to the gym. Well, that's like the little tippy top part on step 4, right? There's all this other stuff that's going to support that. And people jump to the top too quickly and then they feel like a failure and they don't do what they don't do it and they just kind of give up. And so that's a paradigm shift. And just as an industry, I think we can do better. I think we can prepare advisors better. We can share and become mentors for each other and say, hey, I know that you have to sell this many things and this is what you were told in your training, but you have to take care of yourself and start making that part of the expectation and permission that we give ourselves.
I love how, your philosophy, your mentality is just what you're saying, the tippy top, is everybody wants to strive for that. I'm go to the gym, but there's just basic things that people can do. And I think that's such an important message to convey because like you said earlier, sadly, most people, it takes that life event. It takes that moment where they realize, oh my God, I got to do this now. But
Yeah.
if people could maybe figure it out a little sooner and your process making it a little bit easier to figure it out sooner, hopefully can, negate having to go through, that tough situation to, finally get the wake up call.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, I'm excited to write this book because I've got 5 myths that I keep hearing over and over from this industry. lies that the industry is telling advisors. And I'll just read them to you. I'm kind of building these as I interview, so they may change. Don't hold me to this, but I'll read these 5 to you. Once my career is successful, everything else will fall into place. That's what people think. It's not true. I've talked to the people and they say it's not true. Number 2 is if I do nothing, my health will stay the same. No, if you're doing nothing for your health, you are actively sliding backwards on that scale of 1 to 10. You have to be doing something to maintain and something more to actually grow and improve. Number 3, I can do it all. I can do it. I've always done it. I can still do it. Well, eventually you're going to keep working hard and your body's not going to be able to keep up with it. Just like that guy I talked about in California, the 61-year-old. Number 4, health would be nice, but business is more important right now.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. No, this is going to fuel and fertilize what you're trying to do with your business. Okay, a couple of things. The most marital fights happen because of blood sugar. Blood sugar, because you're not feeding yourself well, because you're skipping meals and eating too much junk. And so it makes you irritable and your emotions are not in control and you become hangry, and blood sugar for marital fights. The other one is when you go into an inmate situation, like in a prison, if you feed them really well, violent outbreaks go down by 50%. Because of how we fed. Like if you're not feeding yourself well and moving your body, how in the world can you serve your clients well? It's just not possible. And then the last one is I don't have time to focus on my health right now. I don't see how you can afford not to. I mean, like finding the time, like kids have too many activities, or my client called and needs me to go to dinner, or all of these things. And I'm just saying, hey, let your health show up at the table too, and let it have a vote. At least let it have a vote. Don't just have it always on the back porch somewhere that you hope to get to eventually. So those are some of the myths I'm seeing.
And like you said, this is very similar to the financial planning process, to working with an end client. What's an easy way to help a client to plan for retirement is let's pay ourselves first. Let's put some money away in savings. So every paycheck, let's put some money away, whether it be automatic into a 401k, whether it be into an outside IRA, Roth IRA, whatever it is. And it's kind of the same thing. Like you said, your health needs to have a seat at the table. Like let's actually make that investment right now. And it is the long game, right? I mean, like you said, there's these quick diets and fads and things, but that's not going to last. Like it's, you have to put in the time and energy over time. Just again, I think that's such a great analogy. It's just same thing as a client planning for retirement.
Yeah. Yeah. I have to laugh sometimes, John, because advisors will come to me and they'll be like, I'm just trying to grow my business right now. I will get to my health later.
Yeah.
And I laugh because imagine that they had a client that came to them and I'm just trying to raise my kids right now. I'll start putting money in retirement later. Like it's the same concept. And you would do everything to try to get that client to just start making a few things and, automate a few things right now, even if it's just a little bit. And it's the same with your health. Like just do something and start now. And so, I'm like, I'm you, advisor. I'm trying to get you, your client, to invest and to take action. And, tomorrow is the worst time and yesterday was the best, but start right now, that kind of thing. So that's why I call myself a wealth advisor.
And our industry, those of us who've been around for a while know, and you tell your story again back to when you had your epiphany moment, 11 years old, looking around this conference. Those of us who've been around, we know what this industry looks like and know, some of the health issues, right? Sedentary type environment in many cases, going out to dinner, you mentioned with clients, but also with product partners, with conferences, that type of thing. And then, that mindset of, I have to take care of the client right now. My health, I have to put it aside. I mean, do you think our industry stands out in comparison to other industries, or is this just simply a factor of, the American capitalism, entrepreneurship? I mean, does our industry really stand out that much in your mind, Stephen?
It does, yes. It stands out because of one main reason is the I don't even know if this is a word, the authenticity, being inauthentic, not authentic, with retirement planning, preparing for your future. Because it's almost like there's a disconnect that if you save enough money, then you're going to be fine for retirement. You're safe. And so that's the disconnect. And so I'm trying to make people authentic to their own message. But if you go back to 2008, when the housing bubble happened, remember how crazy that was with the stock market, and people who lived through that and were in this career through then, stress was at an all-time high in this particular industry. The research right now is showing that stress in this industry is 31% higher than it was back in 2008. Wow. So, I mean, it's just this like a pressure cooker, it's like my Instant Pot is about to blow off the top, and we need to move the little valve and release some of that steam because it's so important. And so when you mix these things, sedentariness with high stress, you put those together, that's a toxic cocktail for 30 chronic diseases. Not to mention like productivity and happiness and all of that, but like this is bad stuff when you put them together. It compounds the negative effects of everything else that's going on in your life. So let's just say, John, that you were exercising every day, eating really well. If your stress is a 7 or higher on a scale of 1 to 10, you're still flooding your body with cortisol and all of this stuff that's putting fat in your stomach region, and it's causing metabolic changes at the cellular level. I see it as kind of like an acid that just kind of burns everything it touches. No matter what you're doing, it's going to sabotage it. So there's so many things we need to do in this industry to change the culture of it and take care of how you do business, because it matters long term, or you're going to be like a bright flash and then it's going to be done. And we're kind of here for the marathon, right?
Well, it matters in your own life, family, your own personal health, your fulfillment. You mentioned your dad being able to do a workout after, however many steps you said. But it matters to your clients and your business. Clients, want to know that you're going to be around. They want to know that you're going to be there to take care of them. And you have to lead by example and show them the right example of how you're taking care of yourself, because that, not everyone is going to be the same, but it's so fundamental to take care of that first before you worry about all these other things.
Yeah, I was on the Top Advisor podcast with Matt, and he said these words. He's like, imagine that a client comes in, and sitting across from the client is an advisor who's huffing and puffing, breathing heavy, who's got kind of flushed red cheeks with, like, I don't know, looks like blood vessels popping, and who's sweating just a little bit. And you look across the table, you're like, I don't know, like, I don't feel like there's confidence oozing out of this situation, because whether it's true or not, people equate that how you do one thing is how you do everything, right? And so that appearance of, pulling at your shirt constantly because you're self-conscious that the shirt's too tight. I see that behavior all the time. That's a self-conscious behavior. And when you have that, and advisors telling me, young advisors, they go to these events and they're like, please, Stevyn, I don't want advisor bod. Help me. Like, what do I do to not get advisor bod? And it's those things that you look into the future, and you just, everything gets better if you just start some habits now and incorporate those into your day. And a lot of people have probably read 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, but one of them is to start in the way that you mean to finish. And that's what a lot of people go into this career and say, all I have to do is hustle for 5 to 10 years and then I'll be set. But the truth is, you never pick those things back up. If you were a college athlete or you used to love to go for jogging, like, it goes away, but it doesn't come back. and you dig yourself into this hole. And so that's what I keep saying is start now for how you want to finish. Imagine yourself, John, at an 88-year-old John. What do you want to be doing when you're 88? You know, are you going to be like workingaholic and doing, you know, CrossFit and dieting? No, probably not. You want to be able to put your shoes on and go for a walk and, you know, travel a little bit or whatever. And you start there and work your way backwards and implement all those things that you want to be present in your life. If I have a goal of being able to do a cartwheel till I'm 100, I better be doing cartwheels right now, right? I mean, you just have to start doing it now, even the simple stuff. I'm here in Arizona. I'll tell you a quick story about myself. I'm here in Arizona. We're living in an RV right now. We've got 4 of us. I have 2 children. They're 11 and 15, and my husband and myself. And we just had to get away from the winter. We know that the winter makes us inside and get kind of grumpy and inactive, put on a little weight. So we just decided this is good for us. We're going to go do this for the winter. So here we are. Every morning that I can, I go play pickleball, and I'm the youngster. I'm 48 and I'm the youngster there. And all these people are so much better than me because they've got the skill and talent. They're laughing, they're playing, the sun is shining. We're all out there having a great time. But the number of people that break their arms in pickleball is staggering. Why? Because these are older people who aren't working on some of their movement, and their feet scuff just a little bit and they catch it, they fall backwards, they get stitches in their head and break their arm, right? So how would you, if you're that person in the future living your best life in retirement, how would you prevent breaking your arm and getting stitches and a concussion? Start now, standing on one leg and practicing balance, right? Like there's really simple stuff that you can do to just incorporate these things. So when you end up where you really worked hard to get to, that you can enjoy it.
And again, it's so similar to financial planning is, when's the best, if you want to retire, millionaire, I mean, start saving now. I mean, it's, compound interest over time, and it's the same, everything is compounds over time,
Yes.
good or bad, right? I mean, if you're doing the right things, that compounds. If you're doing the wrong things, that compounds. And, you mentioned, people who say, well, I'll do it later. I'm going to just work on my business now, and then I'll get to it. It also ties into that more mindset is, well, maybe you get past that initial part, but then, I want more. And then, and I'll just wait another 5 years or another 10. I'll just keep pushing it out. And then it compounds on the compound. It makes it even worse over time. I mean,
yeah, you dig yourself into a hole. And then not only do you have to like make progress, you have to pay back your debt because you've taken check into cash early deposits on your health. You're reaching into your future and pulling out cash to use now. And, eventually you're going to have to pay the piper on that. So yeah, exactly.
So Stephen, when you engage with advisors in, for the first time, somebody who either had that moment where that, oh no moment, and I need to do something, or, maybe they do realize how important it is to, that compound interest, I'll do a little bit over time. What does that process look like when somebody first engages with you, and kind of how can you take us through kind of how that looks over the progression of your relationship with your clients?
Yeah, sure. First thing we do is a wealth checkup. And we just look at everything and we say, how are you doing? Is this where you want to be? If you're not, why is there a gap that exists there? And then we try to figure out if we can't, in one session for free, figure it out. And if I can do that for somebody and then they're off and running, I feel like I've been successful. If we can't and they need further support, then what we do is we create a balance sheet for them. And we bring in all their health assets and all their health liabilities. And we create this beautiful little one pager that gives them a wealth number. And I call it your net wealth. And then we track that over each quarter. And every quarter we meet together and we say, how are you doing? What's your plan? What do we need to tweak? How are your trend lines looking? And then we change it. And so we kind of look at it as if you were a financial advisor's client. We watch the trends. We don't assign emotion to these numbers. We stay consistent, and then we just see where we need to make tweaks. Like that's the main kind of lowest level that I work with people on, is to meet 5 times in a year and help track their trends and give them a new program each quarter that we meet. Now, some people need a little more and they need to go through and be educated. So I've got something called the Wellth Academy, and that's where it's got those 12 principles of finances that we overlay on wellness, and we teach them how to change their health. And that's a self-directed online study course. And then I have even a higher level, which is my mastermind. And that's where we've got all advisors, and we meet 36 times in the year, 3 times a month, and we help each other. We are the safety net. If they're struggling, if we need to support in some way, we learn, we laugh, we cry together, and we meet and really help pull the whole group so they've reached their goals by the end of the year.
I think that's so important. And again, that kind of ties into what we're trying to do is having that community, that accountability. It can be hard to do things, isolated on your own. But if you're in that, community environment where you are able to lean on people, where you're able to help people, just truly, it feels good to be able to help. And, maybe I've, charted a strong course for myself, and I look back and I want to give back to somebody else who's up and coming in the industry. Again, it ties into running a practice, working with clients, all the things that we talk about, but then, that same thing obviously holds true for your health as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's easy to, have great goals, have a great plan. And I used to work with people really short term like that and help them come up with a plan. But it's really hard. Like when you go on vacation or you get sick or you just don't feel it, to kind of get yourself back in that game again. And so that's why I started offering that mastermind option, because people learn so much from each other, and that accountability is so, so, so important. But not only that, it's like, you know that, like, have you ever had like a relationship when you're up, they're down, and when they're up, you're down, but you're very rare that you're both down. So you always have someone to kind of encourage you and put a positive spin on it and kind of get back and put your boots back on and keep going. And so I found it to be a really easy way for people to just commit a little bit of time and be able to have that success almost guaranteed if they just show up. And so, that's something I started doing last year. I used to only work with people individually, and then we started this mastermind, and it's been very successful. So much so that now for 2022, I'm looking to move that into corporations, into firms, to work with their group of people so that they can, have their 8 advisors all protect that asset, because then it's going to make the firm even more productive and help them retain more people and help their people feel like they're cared for.
When you get into that firm level, then are you working with back office as well? Or, are you sticking strictly to advisors? You're able to...
back office too. Yeah. Anybody that understands financial principles and that serves this industry, because I want to change the culture as a whole on the industry.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And again, it's very similar to, again, good advisors finish first, in that you're going to be more successful in the long run if you just take care of this first, if you take care of your health first. In so many different ways. Again, just your own health in your situation, but then, like I said, also in terms of what you're representing to your clients. As you mentioned, people pay attention to how you handle so many different things in your life. So people who are associated with our community, Stevyn, they can interact and engage with you here in the community. For people that may be watching this that are not part of our community, what's the best way to get in touch with you and learn more about what you offer?
Yeah, just growwellthy.com, growwellthy.com. Go there. And a really fun thing is just to take the 1-minute quiz. Just see how wealthy you are. It's like 5 questions, and it'll give you a little score. And that's just a fun way to see how you rate, how you're doing. Start there. Also follow me on LinkedIn, because I try to put content out every single day. And that's my goal for the whole year, is to give something back and put new content out every single day. So go there as well. And John, if you want me to, that little hierarchy with the 4 steps, I can post that in the GAF group if you want, just as a resource for people.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, no, we definitely would appreciate that. And again, it's so, I mean, your whole process, and it sounds so familiar to those of us in the industry, because it's just like financial, but it makes so much sense, because that is what it is, again, with compounding, like we were talking about. I think I did have actually, I had somebody pop in here and then popped out. So I think it is still just the two of us right now.
Yeah.
So some people may be watching this live. I don't know if anyone else is going to jump in. We'll maybe give it a minute or two, but I'll go ahead and sign off for the recording, and then we'll just hang out for a minute and see if anybody else jumps in. But Stevyn, thank you so much. Like I said, more than, I mean, you're an inspiration to me personally. I'm sure you are to many others in the industry and beyond. Just your energy. Like you mentioned, you're trying to put out content every day to give back and value. I mean, it's valuable content. It's things that actionable things in the low hanging fruit, like you're talking about. It doesn't have to be the, go big, just the little things. So I'm so excited and appreciative to have you here and be part of this. And thank you so much for what you're doing for our industry. I really believe it's fundamental, and it's certainly something that does need to change in our industry. So thank you.
Well, and right back at you, John, because this environment, this group is going to grow, and it's going to be a game changer for the industry. So thanks for putting in the hard work for this. And I guess a final note for anybody who's listening is, personally, I used to take a softer approach to this. Like, yeah, you should exercise, you should take care of your body, you should feed it well. The more I learn, the more I see, the more advisors I talk to, it absolutely has to happen. So whatever you can do to make that a part of your life, look at everything as you would through financial eyes. Look at your life through financial eyes. Where are you winning? Where are you losing? What are your trends looking like? And make the changes. Blow up the log jam if you have to, and rearrange the furniture in your life to make sure that it happens. You'll thank yourself later.
And your clients will thank you. Your family will thank you. I mean,
everyone,
everybody wins.
Yes.
All right. Thank you again, Stevyn. Really appreciate it. We will talk again soon.
All right.